I'm Eric.
And I'm Jaime.
And this is Horrorscope, a podcast for people who love horror movies.
And people who want to love them. Okay, Eric, are you ready? I have a question for you.
Wait, can you ask that again?
Eric, are you ready?
Or not!
God damn it. This is my intro, Eric.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were trying to do a British accent.
No. My British is very close to my
Borat, yeah.
It's not as they say then.
Why can you do no accents except for Borat?
I just asked Sacha Baron Cohen.
Okay, Eric, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you want to play a game?
Oh, no!
Get it?
We're watching Saw 2.
No.
Saw 3.
No.
Saw 4.
Ready or not, baby?
I'm ready.
Yeah! That's what we like to hear. We're watching Ready or Not. What movie was it where I was ready to fucking murder someone for this podcast? When you were downstairs and I didn't hear you.
Wait.
Remember that?
You I came.
So here's what happened. Eric was playing an elite game of hide and seek because I went to the bathroom and I came back and Eric wasn't in here and the lights were off kind of and he was downstairs, but I thought he had been raptured and I called out and I was like, "Where Eric?" Nothing. So I was like, It's all over.
A very elaborate game of going to the other bathroom.
And I played an elaborate game of picking up my steel knitting needle because I've seen Halloween and I was ready to kill.
And I've never left the room when Jaime is not here ever again.
No, that's true. Hide and seek. This movie. Tell me, I guess, you know what? You tell me. Tell me what you know about Ready or Not.
Well, Jaime, this is a very special movie and a very special episode.
Why is that?
Because this is like the only... It is the only horror movie that we've seen together in theaters.
And it will be.
We saw it.
The only horror movie we've seen in theaters.
We saw it at Alamo Drafthouse, potentially at RIP. And
oh my god, I saw about that. Wait, we gotta talk about that.
Okay.
Didn't they get sold, right?
Yeah, they filed Chapter 11. Apparently they sold it to some investors.
That's so sad. It's gonna be shitty now. They're gonna be like, come to Alamo Drafthouse and you can yell all you want.
Yeah.
It's rowdy boys.
Or here's my pitch. What if you go and they're like, actually, we got rid of your food items, so now it's just a really nice theater.
No, I want the food items. They have the best caramel salted milkshake I've had in my stupid life.
That's
I
crazy.
get the kid size.
Of course.
This big.
Nice. A little shot.
Yeah, it's like $4.
Yeah, this is where I think I differ from a lot of people, because all my friends are like, I love Alamo Drafthouse because I can order a big club sandwich and a milkshake and whatever.
Yeah, I do like the milkshake.
I do not.
You know, you're not a food eater.
I don't.
Eric,
I'm not a food.
Judgy.
Not a foodie.
Yeah, we did see this at Alamo Drafthouse, and it was a good old rip-roaring time. Is my review from then. We'll see how we feel about it after now.
It was pretty. There's some pretty fun moments watching because we sat right next to each other. And there's a few things you said during the movie. I was like, man, that's great. So we'll
and then
yeah.
Year and a half later, podcast, baby.
Podcast. Who would have thought? I knew in that moment watching that movie together, Jaime.
You're like,
from the first sight of that screen.
Well, there's a pandemic later.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I did the research for this episode because I wanted to give Eric a break. And I wanted to know things for once.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I don't know anything.
Let me tell you.
I got stupid idiot eyes. We traded eyes, me and Jaime.
Ew.
Yep, I do.
Oh, wow.
Gotta read the wiki. Ready or Not is a 2019 American comedy horror film directed by Matt Bettinelli Oplin and Terry Gillette, written by Guy Busick and R. Christian Murphy. The film stars Samara Weaving, Adam Brody, Mark O'Brien, and other people. Ready or Not follows Grace Weaving, parentheses Weaving, a newlywed who is hunted by her spouse's evil family as a part of a wedding night ritual.
Judgy.
Spoilers
and judgy.
I walked into this movie thinking it would be just a nice little wedding movie.
Okay, I really like this description from Entertainment Weekly that it's 90 giddy, blood-slicked minutes of crossbows, fatal board games, and familial bitchery.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Somebody pay that person money.
Damn. Okay, so here are the facts. This movie is directed by Matt Bettinelli-Oplin and Tyler Gillett. You decide. And it was written by Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy. Have you heard of those guys?
No. The only two people I kind of know are the two directors, but that's only because of the aftermath of this movie, which I'm sure we'll get
to. Well, I was about to say that these 4 people are handling Scream 5 next year.
Which is big shoes to fill, because all 4 Screams were directed by Wes Craven.
Ooh.
Seeing the vibe of this movie translated to Scream, I think is perfect.
I think so too.
But
God willing, we're going to see that in theaters at Alamo Drafthouse with 2 little milkshakes.
We got to watch all 4 Scream movies, Jamie.
Sure. I mean, we have time. Fuck it, what else are we doing? So a little bit about these guys. So Matt Bettinelli-Oplin. Don't you always wish that they would have like a cool short last name that I can just say instead of his full last name?
Yeah.
Even if I don't say Matt, I'm going to call him Matt. Matt's his first name.
We're on first name basis with these guys at this point.
He was in a punk band. He directed an Alkaline Trio music video, and then he connected with Tyler Gillett, who is an Arizona native. He went to U of A. And they work for... That's a better school. They work frequently with Chad Viella, and they created Radio Silence, which I basically think is just their fun nickname for their group chat. Because it's just them. Like, it's not a movie collective. It's just their name when they make things.
Radio Silence.
Radio Silence.
Cool.
So I was like, well, what is it?
That.
I was like, is it like a... I don't know. I was like, is it like a studio? No, they don't even call it a studio. It's just them.
Well, yeah. It's like, you know
just
how
the boys.
It's like a group of ravens or crows is called a murder.
Oh, yeah.
And then a group of them is called Radio Silence. And then a group of us is called a Horrorscope podcast.
Yeah, you know what? All right. Chad Viella was an executive producer for Ready or Not. They made horror shorts and they released them online successfully, and then they worked on anthologies like VHS, which I think you've seen.
I love that movie, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. It's just like short stories in a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like vignettes? Okay.
Yes.
And then they did Southbound.
That's also very good.
Really? Okay, and then they also did a film called Devil's Due in 2014, and it has fucking terrible reviews.
I'm going to say it sounds familiar, but with a name like Devil's Due being so generic, of course it does.
It's like, I looked at some of the reviews and I was like, whew, I think we should watch it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think we should watch it sometime.
I think it's past due.
Ooh. And then another thing to note, I think, is that this movie weirdly aligned with The Hunt. Do you know what The Hunt is?
It's the movie that almost came out, but then got stopped from coming out.
Let me tell you. Okay. Yes, it is. So The Hunt is described as it came out not this year. What is time? It came out last year.
Right.
It's 2020 American political satire horror thriller film. Say that 10 times fast. And it was supposed to be released in September 2019, but it was delayed because of the Dayton and El Paso shootings in August. And also, the movie was initially called, I think it was called Red State, and a bunch of Republicans threw little bitch hissy fits over it.
I think there already is a movie called Red State, too.
Yeah, I don't know. They were like, this, I don't know. Okay, so this movie is about rich Republicans hunting blue-collar people, a the most dangerous game, and I think that if you look at that and you're like, they're making fun of me, I think you should reevaluate some things.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe when you take a step back and you say, I've made choices. Let's make new choices.
Listen, who am I to judge somebody who loves to hunt humans?
So it got pushed back because of the shootings. And then it was released the week the pandemic started. So that's very timely. We're at the 1-year anniversary. So it did very poorly in theaters because we all thought that the world was ending. I would love to watch it.
Okay.
I've heard it's pretty good.
Oh, all right. Mm-hmm. I always think it's bold when a movie calls itself a political satire.
Yeah, you better deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has, what's her name? Betty Gilpin, right?
From,
Glow.
Glow,
yes. Yeah, love her. Emma Roberts, hate her. So, mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else, too. Someone else that we know in that movie as well.
Okay.
Not someone we know, but someone that the collective culture that I am a part of knows.
Oh, me and Emma Roberts go way back, yeah.
Yeah. So, the weird thing is that Hide and Seek made it out of this whole thing unscathed, even though it has kind of a similar premise.
Hide and Seek?
I wrote down Hide and Seek in my notes. Ready or not?
It makes sense.
The Imogene Heap song, Hide and Seek.
Okay.
I straight up just wrote down Hide and... Anyway.
You're doing great.
I'm gonna leave that in. I'm no coward. It made it out of it unscathed, and I got this confused a lot with Knives Out. I don't know about you.
There is a lot of similarities. I was thinking about that today between this and Knives Out.
If you combine The Hunt and Knives Out, you have this movie.
Ooh.
And the trailers were really similar, too.
Put that on a poster.
Well, I don't think that's a good vouch, because I think Knives Out sucks.
How dare you? I agree.
It's toothless.
It's,
soulless. And
People
that's that.
love that movie.
People love that movie.
Here, mini review section time. Knives Out. Not that great. You had so much talent, and yet you utilized none of it.
Chris Evans, great.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's when you have a Chris Evans. When you have a Chris Evans, you can't make him do bad.
It just felt like it was like plot twist for... It fucking sucked. Okay,
it felt like Ryan
no...
Johnson was trying to subvert your expectations.
Oh, I know I'm supposed to like Ryan Johnson because he directed a music video for the Mountain Goats and he's friends with John Darnell and I hate him. Oh, no. Yeah.
And his
good
wife
music
does
video.
a really great podcast too, and she's great. And it's like everything around him is good. It's just him. Maybe he's a nice guy. I
doubt it.
He seems intolerable to talk to. Honestly.
I doubt it.
Every time I see an interview, I'm like, shut this guy.
Put him in a locker. He makes me want to be a jock. I look at that guy and I'm like, time to do sports. Yeah. So that's what we think about that, in case you were wondering. Yeah. Just in case you were wondering. You guys are getting 2 reviews. 2 reviews for the price of 1. Yeah. I think that this movie has some political commentary to make. And it's weird that it didn't get the same flack, but I'm glad that it was successful. And it made these guys more mainstream. I have a big old quote from a review that I think is maybe a little too toned to one side, but I did enjoy reading. But I will share that with you afterwards. Okay, so this movie took 26 days to film in Canada, and it was filmed in fall 2018. And guess how much the budget was?
$10 million.
Lower.
$5 million?
A little bit higher.
$6 million.
Bingo!
Whoa, I got it on the first try. Tiny. You're going to edit that, right?
Run it back. Tiny budget. Tiny little baby budget. Yeah. And it was released in August of 2019. I thought it came out in the fall. I misremembered.
That explains so much that's Canadian, too. I just watched another movie recently with the lead actor in this movie, and he was in it. I was like, oh, look, he's
Which one? The brother or the husband?
The drunk brother.
Oh, well, let me tell you about the drunk brother.
Great.
Let me tell you about all of them a little bit. So I kind of spoiled this a little bit for Eric because I was just too giddy and I couldn't help myself. This film stars Samara Weaving, and she is Australian.
Doing an American accent.
Betrayal of all betrayals.
Australians.
What do you know about her? Not a lot, I remember.
She is the niece of Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
From The Matrix, and that's all I know.
It all comes back, baby.
It's all in The Matrix.
She started her career in Australian soap operas. She was in Ash versus the Evil Dead, which I haven't seen.
She's in that show?
Yeah, she's like reoccurring. So I think she's like the girl in it, I would assume.
I completely passed over. I've seen that show.
That's probably good, I guess, that you weren't like... I mean, you wouldn't have known her before this, I don't think.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I was like, you've seen it. She's in the new Bill and Ted movie.
Yeah, she was good in it.
Oh, okay. She's playing a Holly Madison, who's a former Playboy bunny, in a series based off of her memoir.
Interesting.
So she's
what a fun career.
I know, and a bunch of other stuff too. Ton of other stuff.
All these movies seem like a blast to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. Ready or Not was her first big American movie break. So
this is such a weird movie. It has like unknown directors, an unknown actress. And they're like, okay, let's put...
She bodied it. She carries this movie. Spoiler again. Pre-spoiler for the movie. Adam Brody is the drunk brother. He's in a bunch of stuff, but he's notably in Jennifer's Body.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know that? Yeah.
No,
but... He's the dude.
I remember the images are coming together.
God, I can't wait to watch Jennifer's Body. What a treat. I'm so excited. Mark O'Brien is the husband. And he's actually mostly a director, and he's a big fucking deal in Canada. And he won a bunch of awards with
He's a director?
Yeah. He's won a bunch of awards with the CBC.
Big Canadian movie.
Yeah, big Canada guys over here.
Hey!
Andy McDowell is the mom. She's in a ton of stuff, but I mostly resent Wikipedia for listing her role in Magic Mike XXL as a lesser success. Literally, because that movie is fire, and I will be taking no questions at this time.
It is in the title. It is the XXL version of it.
Have you seen this movie?
Have you seen Joe Manganiello make hot Cheetos sexy? Because he does it.
So you have seen this movie.
Jaime, I love the Magic Mike
movies. It's a good movie!
They're
Thank
good
you!
movies.
Oh my god, I saw it. I saw it with Katie Lee, and it was like us and an old lady in the theater. And she sat down with this giant bucket of popcorn, like first row.
I love her.
And I was like,
what's her story?
I need to manifest my life to end up there. Those movies are good. Mm-hmm. So that's your second free movie review in this podcast.
Wow, yes. We were just don't dish them out.
Anyway, that's all I have that I think we can talk about before this. It's time for taglines. Are you ready?
Ooh, this is what I've been looking for.
We have 4 of them.
4?
4.
Can I guess one of them? Or...
Go ahead.
Here they come.
They're coming.
What? What? You have it.
It was right there.
It was right there.
Ready or not, they're coming. Bitch, what?
There's a word. I swear they probably put that on a whiteboard and some like intern or somebody like walked by and like rubbed off one of the words.
Okay. The game begins.
Ooh.
Pretty good. A killer game of hide and seek.
Okay. Just
not horrible.
Just the plot.
In-laws can be murder.
Oh, I relate. I relate to that.
I feel like in-law jokes are the only boomer jokes that people still make. You know? Like,
it's like a weird thing. It's like not even like a joke. It's just like a fact. Where you're like, oh, I went over to my in-laws, and people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no, they were good people. Like,
yeah,
you have to like
what's up with
defend
that?
your in-laws.
Yeah, it's very weird. But this movie, I guess, you know, you see what you see.
They're killers.
Are you ready? Or not?
Not.
Not. Dumb. Okay. Hey y'all, it is time for hide and seek. No, just kidding. It's time for the content warnings for Ready or Not. This movie has decapitation, brief strong moments of gore, hand trauma, and a brief moment of violence towards a child. This movie is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the squeamish. It's not really that scary, not really that dreadful, but there are some moments in it that required some unfortunate Foley work, in my opinion. A lot of gurgling, so be warned. It's our job and it's your job to make the world a little less horrific however we can. So this week we donated to Hate is a Virus, which is a nonprofit community of mobilizers and amplifiers working to dismantle racism and hate against Asian Americans. This has nothing to do with the movie this week, but a lot to do with the world around us, and we wanted to share our support for the AAPI, which is the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, and we want to encourage our listeners to do the same. Hate crimes against Asian Americans have increased by 150% during the pandemic, and the recent shootings in Atlanta specifically targeted Asian American women. Hate is a Virus is a nonprofit where the goal is to amplify, educate, and activate AAPI to stand for justice and equality and solidarity with other communities. We're going to link to them as a resource in the show notes. Eric and I are both white, and if you are white and you are listening, you have a job in this as well, and it's to speak out, de-escalate dangerous situations, call out other people in their casual racism and their overt racism, and examine your own behavior and habits. Solidarity to our Asian American listeners. All right, let's get into it.
Run, run, run.
Oh boy. Eric, what did you think?
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
We've seen plenty of bad movies. It's a good movie.
What bad movies have we ever seen? List them all right now. Name every bad movie.
It is, we already did 2 free movie reviews, okay? It is 96 minutes, and it really clipped along.
You gotta love an under 2-hour movie.
It only has a 6.8 on IMDb.
Okay.
What the fuck? No, look, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
What?
That
doesn't seem right.
Horror movies are always divisive.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And there's so many rich people who saw this movie and they're like, oh man, why would they do that to us?
I have a lot to say about that. Mm-hmm. About what the movie does or thinks it's doing. Mm-hmm. But Eric gets to do the recap. What a delight.
Yes.
I'm ready.
I've been the understudy of Jaime's recaps for about 32 episodes now, and I feel like I'm fully ready for this.
Excellent.
Did I do Twilight recap? Sure. Do I remember any of that? No. That was a different state of mind.
Black is so good.
It's another part of your brain that you access when you have to recap Twilight.
It's like when they say you only use 50% of your brain or whatever.
Yeah. 10% of that is to recap to recap Twilight. 50%.
All right, tell me the whole movie.
So we have an intro as movies tend to do, with 2 children.
Strong start. Solid start, Eric.
That's what I thought. There's 2 kids running around a mansion, and the one brother hides the brother. There's 2 brothers. There's 2 brothers, and he hides his brother in the closet and says, like, "Yeah, be quiet, stay in here." And then the brother hides him in the closet, and then gets confronted by a man, stabbed or shot with a bow and arrow. And he's like, "Help me," and he's like, "Nah." And then this cult members come and they finish the guy off. Apparently, ready or not. And then we cut to modern day, and Samara Weaving, aka Grace, as Jamie pointed out, what a on the nose name.
Both of the wives in this movie have virtue names. So
What is the daughter's name?
Fuck if I know.
Okay. Cocaine lady.
But the wife of the older brother's name is Charity, and ironic. Isn't it ironic?
Ooh,
okay,
there's some opinion in that.
I mean, she talked about having no money.
Charity case.
Exactly. See.
Oh wow. It did take me a few
It was
seconds.
subtle. Emily.
Oh.
So it's the wives. It's the people being brought into the family.
And then there's Fitch.
There's Fitch.
Just...
Anyway, go ahead.
All right. We find her reciting her vows into the mirror. Her future hubby comes in while she's wearing her wedding dress, and it's just like, oh, and like they're like talking about stuff. I'm like, what is this? What is this?
It seems like a very traditional family. So,
yeah.
But they took photos before, so they had seen each other.
But that shows how much this guy cares about his family traditions. He goes. One of the many times he goes, "Oh, I hate my family. My family sucks. I'm so sorry. We're my family." She's like, "It's cool. I can't believe I am marrying into the Le Domos Dominion, as they call it," which I think sounds like Le Dumbass.
I think you're right. I think you were onto something with that.
Yeah, with referring to Grace and Charity, they probably would just kind of messing around with the names.
I think you're right.
So they will not be referred to as the Le Dumbass family. In this family, who is this family, you might ask? Well, let's go down the family tree. We have mom and dad. Below that, we have future husband, his drunk brother, sister who we have not seen yet, drunk brother's wife, and a crazy evil aunt who is like...
She's a delight.
Just looks evil. She like, we said like she could play like Yzma in a live action movie. She has like cool, short, like stock gray hair and like crazy eyebrows and makeup.
There's some meme potential in that lady, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
There's something there.
If like I age into that, I'd be living a good life.
Eric in 60 years.
Yes.
Damn. One thing to note, the older brother comes in and talks about being a fuck up and how the other brother is better, and he says, "It's not too late for you to just leave. Ha 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 ha." And then he leaves. And then Alex is the husband. Yes. He's like, "Yeah, it actually isn't too late for you to leave." And she's like, "No, it's fine." And then he's like, "Okay."
That's what you want to hear. I don't know. I've never been married before. Shocker. But I think that's what you want to hear right before you get married, right? Is that you can leave. Like, this doesn't have to happen.
Yeah.
If you have cold feet, listen to them.
Yeah, I would say that. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's the family. They take wedding photos. They have their wedding. It's beautiful. Or is it? So then after that, they go back into their room and they're about to, do stuff. But then boom, evil aunt is in the corner. And she's like, "We gotta go downstairs." And then she's like, and Grace, like, "What do you mean?" And then Alex is like, "Okay, spoilers. My family loves to play board games. And you have to play board games." Oh, wait, we didn't establish that. La Domas family is a board game dynasty. Like, they, made their billions off of, a Hasbro, corporation.
Would you say that all of the board games in the movie are based off of defunct Hasbro products?
Ooh!
I would say that.
I would not say that, but I will. That's awesome.
I'm not as patient as Eric because I was telling him the little tidbits during the movie. I was just, too excited to know about the movie.
That's great. I don't know.
I'll repeat them again.
Okay. I'll still act surprised. And he's like, "Okay, we have to play a board game or something, and then that, and then if you play it, then my family will fully accept you." In any other case scenario, would love to be joining that family. That sounds wonderful. If I'd gone to a family like, "Yeah, we gotta play board games," I'm like,
how
he's
fighting against his evil family, you are fighting against your inner board game person. If Eric succumbs once, he will become the board game guy.
Yeah, if
it's always lurking at the end. It's Dark Timeline Eric. Board game guy.
Yeah, I'm the relative that's just really into the board games.
Do you know how many times we've been drunk, incredibly drunk, and Eric is trying to still tell us board game rules, and everyone is drunk, just like being absolute hellions, and Eric's still trying to read us the board game rules?
I love a board game. Not great with drunk people, but I love a board game.
Bad combo for our friend group.
So yeah, and then he's like, all right, we gotta do that. It's super weird, it's super dumb, but you gotta do it. I hate my family.
And they pull a card from like a little card deck. Second movie with a weird deck thing.
What was the other one?
The Crooked Man, the weird little projector thing. It's like a weird object because it shuffles the deck and then pulls
spoilers, Crooked Man shows up later in this movie.
Oh, Jesus. I would be so mad. No way. No.
So she goes downstairs, and this is where I reveal that, like, I mean, of course, they're like, like, the whole, like, overtone of the movie is that they're a very rich family, and this is how rich family live.
Yeah.
The sister shows up late with her 2 kids and her husband, who, the husband is kind of like, nobody in the family really likes him. And the daughter has cocaine on her nose.
Straight up. And they had to charter their private plane to fly in because they said they can't fly commercial anymore. So that's what we're working with.
Oh, poor people.
And one of the little kids is wearing one of the masks from the beginning. And he's chanting, kill, Mr. LaBelle, kill. And then the older brother gets upset about that.
So, yeah. So, they all show up. Rich conservative family vibes coming off this family. Shocking. This is what the tone they're going for. And they kind of capture that vibe because the dad goes into this explanation of how they made their wealth. And the whole family is just like sitting around the table listening to him intently. He explains that like his granddad, right?
Great-granddad.
Made his fortune through a series of events, became like a board game guy. Made a deal with this dude.
This is what happens when you become the board game guy.
Oh no.
You make a deal!
He is the big board game guy. But you gotta make a deal with LaBelle. He gives him a box and says, each time somebody gets married in the family, you have to draw a card. And out of the deck, whatever card game or board game that comes out, you're part of the family. And then they give her the deck, and everyone's like super tense, and she's like, why? This is weird. Anyways, draws a card, and it says hide and seek on it. And she's like, oh, do we really have to do this? This is funny. And everyone's just like acting weird.
They all just look like someone died.
Yeah, especially the husband, Alex, is like really good at acting like being like gone. He has like that 1,000-yard stare.
Absolutely,
now. Yeah. So he just looks
because he's a director.
Yeah. He's like, how do I direct myself?
Like, what is my motivation? You know?
He's like, hold on, I'm having a conversation with the director, me. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll go do it. And she kind of isn't aware of everybody's reactions. Just like, this is weird. Goes off, finds a dumbwaiter and hides in that. Meanwhile, the family starts suiting up and getting ready. Like the aunt gets an axe.
Featuring the creepiest song.
Thank you. Yes, the best song. There's a hide and go seek song.
Who wants to play a game?
It's time for hide and seek.
Run, run, run. Time to run and hide. Run, run, run. And now I'm going to find you. Scurry off into the darkness. Hurry, I'm behind you. Don't you speak. Hide and seek.
So that song was written for the movie, obviously. Because that wasn't just lying around. I'll plug it in here. Hear a little bit of the ditty. It really got stuck in my head after we saw this in theaters.
Right now. Run, run, run.
Okay. Eric has a stuff he knows too, so that's just like very funny. You do not even sound like yourself. Yeah, but that is playing and they're suiting up.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Aunt gets an axe, as she should, to complete the look.
Oh, yeah.
Sister gets a tiny gun, and the sister's husband gets a crossbow, which is like the main feature in like the trailer. I feel like that's like the weapon of the movie is the crossbow.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And so she gets bored into the dumbwaiter, and she gets out. She gets pulled into the bedroom by Alex, and he's all like panicking. She's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Hide," because the maid walks in. And the maid's doing something, I forget what.
She's looking after the younger brother, the kid. The kid woke up, and so the maid is looking for the kid.
Gotcha. Looking for the kid, and bam, gets shot in the face. And you hear like, oh, I got her, I did it. Aren't you proud of me, Daddy? It's the sister who shot
Oof.
the maid in the face. And so the family runs in, they're like, you shot the maid, you dummy. And it's like, gory, but still, I think they cut away from the gore enough to make it still like humorous.
There is a lot more gore in this movie than I remember there being, though.
Very visceral too, very intense.
Yeah, when you said visceral, I was like viscera. Like, yeah, a lot of chunks.
Yeah,
it's a chunky movie.
Yeah, it's goopy, it's chunky, it's gurgly.
A lot of gurgles. Yeah, a lot of gurgles.
Man, that poor transcriber for the movie to do subtitles is just like gurgle.
Literally.
Gurgle.
Yeah, for real.
So this is where Grace realizes that there is murder afoot.
They do a lore dump.
Yes, they exposit. There's so much lore that they just kind of exposit throughout, and they're like, well, does that murder count? No, it has to be her. We have to do the practices, yada yada. Let's get rid of this body. So they move the body out. She's like, what the fuck? He's like, I wanted you to get out, but like we need to like live.
They go into the servant tunnels because the houses have like a whole second secret passageways for servants from back in the day. So he takes her into there. And
this is where he gives her the lore dump that the family do it, and if you draw this card, you have to survive to the morning. Yeah. Or else they'll try to kill you. And she's like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me this before?
Well, they'll die. So they think that they're going to die.
And she's like, why would you pull me into this? And he's like, well, you married me. Ooh, if you weren't off board with this guy already.
He sucks because like they've been together for 1.5 years, and she said earlier she was like raised in foster homes. She really wanted an established family. And he's like, you would have left if I didn't propose to you. And she's like, you could have told me literally any of this. And he's like, yeah, you would have left though, and then I'd be alone. Whip. And then so she's...
Yeah, and also she's like talking to the mom. She's like, yeah, I was in foster homes, but he said that like now I can have a permanent family. Meanwhile, he's telling his family, I don't want nothing to do with you. Like, we're going to leave the second after this night is over. And so it's like, the movie does a good job of never making him like turn fully evil. It just like sets him up.
Are you sure?
What I mean is like, they never like do like he's always doing shitty things without being like, mwahaha.
I think he literally has a mwahaha heel turn, though.
He's not reveling in it like an evil villain.
He's not reveling in it. I will agree with that.
So then he's like, I'm going to leave you down here, and then you have to remember these rules. I'll be back, or whatever. And he goes to the comms area.
This is Among Us lingo.
Yeah.
The cameras are turned off in the house. But
right, because they're like, oh, this tradition, we don't use anything that our great-grandfather never used, so we aren't going to use the cameras. Of course, why would we use the cameras? That's cheating. But the windows are locked with security locks.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so like between here, we like a lot of establishing stuff. They establish that the brother and his wife's marriage are just trash. We get another scene where the sister now is given the bow and arrow because she keeps on fucking up with the gun. And because at one point she misfires again after seeing Grace running away and almost kills the dad. And so then she's given the crossbow, which is immediately misfired into the mouth of another maid.
Oh man, it sucks because Grace has to choose between 2 doors in the servants' corridor. And then she chooses the wrong door because she couldn't remember. And then they're like, where is she? And they're like, oh, there she is. And then the sister almost shoots all of them and doesn't get her. Mm-hmm. When does the second maid... Is it in the library? Maids. Yeah, there's 3 maids. We didn't. Yes, they're like caretakers.
It's not a library. It's like a pool table dining room.
You know, the rich people pool table room.
I mean, when you have so many rooms, why not? A good point that I think Jamie brought off the side of the podcast that I've also dreamed about. If you have so many rooms in the house, ball pit room. That sounds great.
That would have made this movie so much better.
That would be great if she falls into a ball pit room. Second opportunity. I would say Willie's is the first. Oh, Willie's did have a ball pit and they misused it. Third review of this movie.
What the fuck are you doing if you're rich and you don't have a ball pit?
There was the recent trending TikTok yesterday, which is straight out of Candyman, where a person revealed that their apartment, they felt like a wind behind their mirror, and they opened it and it's a whole other place behind it. Gotta be careful,
Check behind your mirrors.
Check behind your mirrors, folks.
Check all your gaps. Yeah, we moved our dresser and there was a outlet that wasn't covered and it's just like a hole in our wall. It's small, but I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like,
found
absolutely
the hole in the
not.
wall for the little boy to crawl through.
It's pretty. If the little boy's like this big, I can kick
He's
his
a very
ass,
little boy, yes.
Yeah, I'll shred him.
Wow.
A brief aside, anyway.
Better be careful. Those are fighting words.
I've seen enough of these movies. I'll kick a little boy's ass. I'll do it. I'll make like Grace.
You don't cut that audio clip. Coming back, they are doing that stuff.
What stuff?
The murders.
Yeah, she shoots the maid through the mouth.
Shoots the maid through the mouth. And then the aunt finishes the job by cutting her head off with an axe. Then we cut to Grace. She is in the kitchen. The door unlocks, but unfortunately the butler has been in the room with her and is making tea. She has a shotgun, but tries to use it. Turns out it's just for show, and she gets in like a fight with him, smashes a hot teapot on the side of his face, burns stuff in his face, gets out.
Yeah. Alex is he's in the control room.
Right. He opens up the door, then busts the control room. So just because they earlier on established that they were like, oh, well, I mean, if great granddad was alive and they had cameras back then, he would have used them. Yep. And so like the aunt is very like strict tradition. It's like, no, we can't do that. And he's like, oh no, we'll turn those on.
Yeah, because 2 maids are dead, so.
Yeah, might as well. And does the third one die in between these?
No.
Later?
Yes. Well.
Definitely, yes.
So I think what happens is it's because the butler his face is already burned. So here's what happens. It's Alex is in the control room. The dad and his brother are trying to bust in. He breaks all of the cameras. Grace is able to get outside. The dad comes in. The brother comes in. Alex starts strangling his dad and says he's going to kill him. The brother is like, don't worry, I'll help you get her out. And then the dad is able to smack Alex over the head.
A lot of twists and turns in this movie. You don't know what people's sides are on and what.
Yeah, but wait, because I'm thinking that they already found her. There's like a point where she comes out of the servant quarters and she's running around in the house, and then we forgot when she has an interaction with the older brother. They're in the pool table room. We started talking about Zillow.
So okay, I'll back it up. Back it up. She is then running, and then she stumbles into the main room where she finds the shotgun. This is the pool table room. Yes. Lo and behold, who should walk in but the older brother, Daniel, sees her, has like a conversation with her. She's like, you don't have to do this. He's like, I do, but I don't want to, so I'm going to give you a 10-second head start. She's like, that sucks, but takes it, because you got to take it. So then she books it out. Then he does the 10-second rule. They all show up. He's like, oh, she's in the pool room. They all show up. She's gone. He's like, I'm drunk. I don't care about this stuff.
And that's when she finds the third maid.
She finds her in the dumbwaiter, right? And then the maid's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. She's like, oh, they just want me. And she's like, oh, really? And she starts like screaming. She's like, no. She accidentally presses the dumbwaiter button. This thing is like automatic, like steel shut door dumbwaiter. Because why would you want to like... I don't know. It's a very intense contraption for a very basic item. Like
I would agree. Yeah, and I would agree. It snaps her. You hear her neck snap. Ugh. Yeah. Gross. Yeah. And more gurgling.
You gotta get all those. Cut to the kitchen where she stumbles upon the butler. They get in a kerfuffle. She burns half of his face. Breaks out of the house. Finds herself in the goat pen area in the household. Or
like the stables.
Which later they established they do goat sacrifices too, I guess, to this male. Of course. Yeah. And who should be there but one of these sisters' little kids. And she's like, oh, it's you. Hey, I gotta get out of here. Boom. Instant one-handed stigmata of a bullet through the hand.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Yeah, I hate to see it, but what you love to see is a little shitty kid getting punched in the face.
That's what I'm saying. If she's good enough to punch a little shitty kid in the face, if a little shitty kid comes out of my wall, I'm gonna punch him.
She's gonna punch him.
I've learned one lesson.
Especially if he has a little tiny gun.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So then this is where I would argue is probably like the grossest, worst part of the movie.
You would be correct.
Where she falls backwards.
There's like a hole. It's like a little well, kind of.
Yeah, falls through the door into the goat pit.
Yeah, dead goat pit.
Get into the pit. But it's just a bunch of dead goats. That's pretty sick. And then she tries to climb out.
There's a body in there.
There's a body.
There's also a human person in there.
Who is that?
Probably the dude from the beginning.
Ah, okay. He died in the goat pen. They just never checked.
No, they probably just threw his body in there after he died.
Ah, okay.
No, he didn't. They had to sacrifice him. No.
I guess. I don't know if, like, Mr. LaBelle came or maybe didn't come. I don't know. Anyways, so she climbs the ladder. Ladder old. Breaks. She's holding on. And she has, again, a hole through her hand. And you know what? There's a nail. Figure it out. She climbs up. She pulls herself up with the nail in her hand. I don't want to.
Okay, fair.
It's gross. There's a nail. There's a hole in her hand. She pulls herself up. You do the math. Anyways, she then finds a gate and finds like a weak part of the gate. The car is driving by. She's screaming for help. She's able to like pull down the metal bar.
Yeah.
Climb through the gate while scraping her back because this gate has like cute little metal leaves on it. No, it's painful. And then she's like, help me. And this guy's like, fuck you. And drives away.
Yeah, yells, get out of the road.
Yeah. Loser.
She's a very good string of cusses.
There's a lot of weird cussing in this movie.
Yeah, weird cussing in this movie.
A lot of like,
good cussing, weird cussing.
I could see the writers are just trying to get creative.
Say holy dick. No
holy
one says
dick, cock.
Yeah, just as an
It's great.
Just gonna isolate that audio for Eric.
Thank you.
And she yells, fucking rich people.
Yes. If you didn't get it already.
Yeah, right? You know?
It makes you
wink,
think.
wink.
She is hiding in the forest.
The wife sees her. The wife is taking a smoke break outside.
Yes, and tries to shoot her and misses her.
Yes.
An immediate bird noise, as if she shot a bird accidentally.
Yes.
Which I
and
always love.
oh, we forgot about Fitch. A sister's shitty husband is watching a YouTube video earlier about how to use your crossbow. And Eric was like, that has to be the directors, right? And I was like, God damn it, because it's the writers. That's their cameo.
It is too, they were in too dumb of outfits. And it was too quick to not be.
That was really funny.
This is where they kind of talk about, too, the dad talks about with the brother of if they do not kill this girl, they will all die in the morning. And they're like, well, like, that's all bullshit. And they're like, well, what about the other family that apparently had some similar pact and they found their house burned down, but that's not really what happened. That was just a cover-up.
That's right.
So there's a little bit of hint that maybe this is all real or maybe it's not.
And Alex gets chained up.
Alex is handcuffed because he's all trying to be heroic and save his wife, like the good guy he is.
And they talk a lot about how he left the family and how it's a big deal and how he was meant to lead the family and he saw Mr. LaBelle in his chair when he was 5. Whatever.
Yeah. What a great household to grow up in.
When did they say it? They're the... What? It's later. When they're the kids. They say it when the Gopen, the brother and the sister.
Yeah, but you figured that out from, like, shot
they're
one.
the kids.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers. The boys in the beginning of the movie are Daniel and Alex. Oh, wow. Wowie, wow.
And he's traumatized. And we find out the guy in the beginning of the movie was the aunt's husband.
Yes.
And then now she
was reluctant in the beginning, but now realizes she fucked up.
Now she's on board. She's like, I should have killed him myself. His name was Chris.
What a good origin story.
Absolutely.
To be like, oh, my origin story isn't that something tragic happened to me. It's that tragic happened and I realized, oh, I should have done that.
Should have been me.
The sister sees her. The butler's going out. The butler, as Jamie pointed out, has no skin in this game. He is just an employee.
Just a great employee.
I mean, employee of the month, if you ask me.
Really eager to just get in on it.
Very giddy about it. He is searching for her, and she is caught by him, but then she turns the table on him, and then fucking slaps his burnt face, chokes him out.
Girl boss moment.
If you like this episode, please hashtag girl boss. And then she jumps in the car, drives away, and this is Jamie's favorite moment, I believe, right? You were saying that you love this moment so much in this movie, Jamie.
The movie just really jumps the shark here.
It feels like a Jordan Peele bit.
Like, yeah, not like from a Jordan Peele movie, like from Key and Peele.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's so stupid because she calls like the OnStar equivalent in the car, and then they're like, "Oh, the car was reported stolen, so I actually have to shut it down. I'm not calling the cops." It's ridiculous. It's like we didn't need to. I could see the need for like a heavy-handed, oh, this is people following the rules that we have set. Isn't it ridiculous that people will still follow the rules? Like, but that's
I didn't think about that. I just thought
it's too much. It's so fucking dumb. And then they shut the car down and she's stuck.
Yeah. And
it just feels like you already had the fake out with the other car not helping her. We didn't need this. Fun fact, Samara Weaving didn't know how to drive.
Oh.
They had to teach her how to drive for this
know
movie.
How to do an American accent, but not that. Huh? Got one up on you.
Not even drive. Just pretend to look like she can drive. So I was watching that the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always love it in the movies when they're doing the whole arm movements, the big arms.
I didn't catch it, so I don't think it was too bad.
Just too good of an actress.
Honestly, yes.
But spoilers, not only does the TriStar person not help them, but also the butler's not dead.
He's alive!
Yeah! And he busts through the window, knocks her out, ties her up, calls up the family on his phone. They Zoom call or whatever they're doing. He's like, I got them. And they're like, wow, great job. He's like, thank you. I'm going to celebrate by playing this classical music and sing to it and scream out the window. Real Joker thingy. And so then he does that, and the family is just like, yeah, we did it. She wakes up in the back seat, sees this, fucking lines her feet up, and starts bashing this guy's face into the wheel.
I'm nodding emphatically. You can't see this.
Girl boss moment.
While the family watches on their phone as
It's so funny.
It's so, because they're just like, oh, look. And he can't hear them because he's so into this classical music.
Yeah.
Crashes the car because she beats him so hard.
Yep.
And then wakes up. This again, Jamie pointed out, what, 8 concussions? We should have done a concussion.
Absolutely. We should have done it. Yeah, at least. But before this happens, the older brother and the sister are put on maid disposing duty. And they have to go to the stables. And they chuck the bodies in the goat pit, and they both have pretty weak stomachs. And then he was saying that they all deserve to die, and that his wife was really eager to sell her soul for money. And then she says, my kids don't deserve to die. And then they find a kid with a big old shiner, and he says, yeah, I tried to shoot that lady. And the older brother's like, why would you do that? And he says, everyone else was trying to do it. And the mom's like, I'm so proud of you. And that same thing happened in the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. Someone told Alex? No. What's the older brother's name?
Oh, no, Daniel.
Someone, when I think his mom or someone knelt down and said that she was so proud of him for ratting on the guy in the beginning.
He asked the question, and she's like, "Oh, do my kids deserve to die?" And then the question gets answered by this kid being like, "Oh no, I wanted to murder them." And he's like, "Mm-hmm, yeah." He's like,
"Uh-oh,
child murder." I'd also punch this kid. So yes, and then cut to the butler car scene. She wakes up, gets out of the car. I guess the butler's dead officially at this point.
Woo!
Pour one out. And then the brother, Daniel, finds her and is like, I gotta do what I gotta do. Knocks her out. The dad shows up, says, good job, let's tie her up, let's get this thing started. They all robe up. They get their little pentagram round table that everyone has in their household, and they tie her up. And why are you looking weird? You have a pentagram table in your household, do you?
No, I was trying to remember if this is what happens because this movie is so fucking... we said it clipped and it was so smooth and progressive, but it is so convoluted.
Yeah.
Really picked a hell of a... I'm just thinking of the Creature of the Black Lagoon recap where it's like, they went to the lagoon, the creature was there. But
Hey guys, simple basis. Girl marries family board game murders, she murders them, the end.
Okay.
Or does she? And so then... they drink the juice, the Satan juice, as they are performing the...
the Satan juice?
Yeah. Everyone has a pentagram table and a Satan juice.
Ah, you're right.
And they start doing their little chants, but it turns out, while they're about to perform this ritual, they all start throwing up and feeling sick because the older brother, Daniel, is actually trying to help her, and...
How do we know that? The aunt points at him and goes, poison!
Yes. Oh, the poison? Who's the poison?
It looks like I thought they were throwing up blood, and I was like, holy shit, but it's just the wine.
I always thought it was blood.
No, it's hydrochloric acid. He says it's what they used to dissolve the maids. I only caught that because of the subtitles.
Yeah, and he says they won't die, they'll just have the bad stomach for the week or whatever. And she's like, oh my god, thank you, you're so great. And he's like, yeah, my family deserves to die again. And lo and behold, his wife tries to shoot her, but then shoots Daniel instead. And he's on the ground, he's like, run. Alex, meanwhile, is like, I
think she shot him on purpose, right?
Did she?
Yeah, because she says, he's like, no, I'm not going to step out of the way. And she's like, you would save her over me. You care more about her than me. And then she shoots him in the fucking eyeball.
She's like, what am I, a charity case? And then looks at the camera and goes, am I right?
This movie just falls short of doing that, so not really that far off.
Meanwhile, Alex is getting the best workout of his life. He is really working those triceps. He is sawing the banister that he is tied to with his handcuffs. Breaks up downstairs, finds his brother dying, has a big emotional moment. Meanwhile, in the pool table room...
More gurgling. Grace kicks her ass. Grace kicks Charity's ass.
Oh, yeah.
She runs out of bullets, and then she just whoops her ass.
Throws the gun, which is great.
Girl boss moment.
And so then she is in the room, almost gets hit by a bow from the mom, misses her, hits the portrait right where the rabbit is, makes you think. And then Grace is pretty much fed up at this point. They have like a little confrontation, and then she just bashes in the mom's head after being choked by her, and then like is just letting herself out. Also to establish, Samara Weaving has like the craziest scream.
It's crazy.
Bashes the mom's head in just in time for Alex to walk in to find it.
Oops.
And then we get to the wonderful moment where he is like starting to like break down because he saw his brother and mom die, and he asked her, he tries to comfort her, and she's like, don't touch me. He's like, oh, you're gonna leave me no matter what. And she's like,
yeah, no shit, Alex.
Yeah. And then that's when his shitty family doesn't... Man, what a different story to tell, where it's a man learning to fall in love with his family again. Where he realizes, like, gee whiz, they're not that bad.
This is when I was like, earlier when you were saying he doesn't have a heel turn. I understand what you were saying now, that he wasn't, like, gleeful, but he, like, holds the side of her face, and then he starts crushing her head, and then he gets her in a headlock.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is not a loving head embrace. This is not a loving face hold. He's trying to smush her head.
Yeah.
Sucks.
It's all great. And then he calls his family, and then she gets captured once again. But now we have to include the children, because you need a certain amount of people to do the ritual.
Oh, that's a good point. What's our kill count?
Damn. 3 maids, a butler, a mom, a brother. And then I guess the husband in the beginning of the movie. So that's... What number?
That's enough. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
7. I'm sure there's a YouTube video out there that's like, kill counts.
They're like, graveyard. They walk by. Ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding.
yeah. Oh, board games. Those count as people, right? And so the sun is rising, or is risen at this point, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so they got to perform this ritual, so they're back in their robes. They're just holding her on the table at this point. Alex gets the honors of stabbing her with the knife. They all do a little Latin chant, as we do. They all say, "Hail Satan," which you gotta love. And as he goes to stab her, she claws her way out of the grip, gets stabbed in the shoulder, pulls out the knife. It's a super cool maneuver. Crazy.
Yes.
This is like the peak scream where she just goes for it, and it just lingers, and it's just like an up and down echo. And the sun has risen at this point.
Good morning.
And then they're like, "Oh my god, we're gonna die!" And then they don't die. I'm like, oh my god, we were wrong. What are we gonna do with her? We just said we had to murder her, but we're not murdered. This is crazy. And then the evil aunt's like, "Nah, I'm never gonna let you down. Never gonna give you up. I'm gonna turn around to hurt you, LaBelle." And then Satan, and goes to stab her, or not stab. You don't stab with axes. You cut. You chop. She goes to chop her with the axe, and boom, explosion.
Can you believe it? She blows up.
She fucking blows up. Kabooey. You know who else blows up? The rest of the family. Pop, pop. We got the brother-in-law popping. We got the sister-in-law popping. We got the sister and the 2 kids running out of the room. Pop, pop, pop.
But you do see, you see small kid explosions.
Small kid explosions.
Like, whoof.
The dad explodes. And then Grace is kind of laughing out all of this because, I mean, it truly is them getting their comeuppance. This is a
Absolutely. What else are you
reaction.
supposed to do? Yeah.
Oh no! This evil family trying to murder me.
Be like, well, this is this.
Yeah. And then Alex isn't blown up yet, and Alex is like, "Oh, I love you. This was all wrong. You could tell that you've changed me because I'm not blown up. That means you love me, and that means I'm a better person, and that means everything can be fine. And I'm so scared." Like, and she's like, "Actually, I want a divorce." Oh, fuck. That's right. When the ant blows up, that's when the Run, Run, Run song turns back on.
Who wants to play a game?
It's time for hide and seek.
Oh, that's right. The house is also on fire.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah.
No, you're not. I just remembered. The house is on, because that's when she hits the dad with the lantern and it knocks over.
That had a purpose.
Aha! And the record's all wonky, so now it's like the twisted version of the song. Ooh.
Oh man, just vinyl core. How dare they treat that classic vinyl with such disrespect. And then, yes, that's playing. And then she's like, "I want a divorce," and throws the ring at him. And then he explodes. And then she's like, "Wow, whew. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen." No, because then fire explodes out of the fireplace, and you should see a silhouette of Satan himself, LaBelle, just being like, "Good job. Good job."
She got a little chin, like a sup nod. Like, hey.
Would love that.
Game recognized game.
Yeah.
What did you say when the record started playing? You're like, "Love a cheeky little bastard Satan man."
I love it. His whole plan.
He's very playful.
It's good. It's good. He thought it
good.
out. He oh God. We'll get into it. And so then she walks out of the house, smokes a cigarette. Some guy shows up. Who is that?
I mean, the paramedics, the cops,
paramedics.
Everybody, because the whole house is ablaze.
They're like, "Oh, you okay? It looks like something happened to you." And then she was like, "In-laws. Am I right?" Looks at the camera. Credits roll.
Ready or not! Great job, Eric.
Thank you.
What a fucking convoluted movie.
Oh my God. I thought, I was like, oh, I don't need
I
to.
know, you took so many notes.
Not enough, Jamie.
Sorry to Will, actually.
No,
I
it's
got
good.
you. I'm
helped me.
practiced
Yeah.
now. Let me tell you a little bit more about this movie. This movie made over 57 million globally.
Okay.
You and I contributed about $20 to that, so you're welcome, Fox.
Yeah. And I guess Disney, they really need extra cash right now, so I'm glad.
James Vanderbilt was one of the movie's producers, and he was LaBelle.
Oh!
Fun little cameo. And then the writers were the How to Use a Crossbow instructors.
Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him in the ass.
What?
To dress himself up like Satan.
He's probably fine. I also have some facts about the movie, so thank you, IMDb. First thing, so she ends up progressing through the movie. She's in her wedding dress. She ends up ripping it. It ends up getting ripped, teared, covered in blood. It's like pitch black, red, gore covered at the very end of the movie. There were 17 versions of that wedding dress.
Ooh.
And she changed into it. They said it's to show the progress of her night, obviously, and how her clothes correspond to her attitude. Not real. I mean, she's getting stabbed. It's a little bit of a reach, IMDb, but
Yeah. It's like, no shit. Like, that's, unless you're in like a rock movie where you just have a white shirt that stays clean the entire time. Like, yeah, no, it's gonna get dirty.
Yeah. They only had, so this was filmed in a bunch of different locations. It was Casa Lorna, Sunnybrook Park, the Clairville Conservation Area, the Parkwood Estate in Toronto, Canada. And they only had 5 candelabras, and they weren't allowed, when they were in the house, that's an actual historical house, they weren't allowed to burn the candles, they weren't allowed to do anything. So anything that you saw that was interacted with, they had to bring it in. And there's one scene where there's a bunch of candelabras in the room, and I was like, that's all of them!
Yeah.
Because they had to just move their 5 candelabras around.
I love the guy on set who's just the candelabra guy.
Someone thinks that the old tradition, the bad superstition of seeing the bride in her dress before the actual wedding brings bad luck. So they're like, oh, that's why it happened. Not the Satan pack. Anyway, that's mostly it.
All right.
Yeah. I don't really, yeah. The board games they had over 200 different ideas for knockoff board games, but they all got rejected because of copyright.
Okay.
So the board games we see are pretty vague,
Yeah.
I would say. And that's kind of it. This movie did well. I think it put Samara Weaving on a lot of people's radar. I cannot wait to see what she does next.
Especially the horror radar.
Absolutely.
Like, people are like stoked. And she, again, great career.
This would be a good, because Margot Robbie was also considered for this role, which I thought was weird.
Wouldn't it be good?
She looks exactly like Margot Robbie.
Both Australian.
Damn it. But I think this movie would be pretty good without her, but she just like bodies it. Like, she carries it so much.
Yeah, I mean, like, just like getting into things we like. The movie spends a lot of time with the family, but still the moments that we have with her give her a lot of character, are allowed to give her some like wit. The relationships in the beginning, like every time she interacted with Alex in the beginning of the movie,
it was cute.
she was like cute, and then he was just like, oh, my family sucks, and she's just like being very playful with him and comforting.
I thought they had like okay chemistry. It wasn't bad. We've seen worse.
Yes, you get like why they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
But you're also like, there's something bad here.
Yeah. You don't want to meet your partner's family on your wedding day. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I think that... Well, let's say, what didn't you like about this movie?
Yeah, what didn't you like about this movie, Jamie?
Oh, what I did? Okay.
Flip it around.
Speaking of board games. Reverse Uno card. I think that the movie is pretty ridiculous in a delightful way, but it jumps the shark a little bit. I'm specifically thinking about, it's the car scene, because we already had the fake out with the car. We already had someone trying to rescue her.
Is that jumping the shark, or is that just like a scene, like just a bit that didn't land?
I don't know. I think it's stupid. I think it's like, oh, can't you see that all people are shitty and no one's going to help her? It just feels like extremely heavy-handed. It took me out of the movie. I was like, you didn't need to bring the outside world into the movie, I thought there were like really well-established parameters. Like, she could have just found a car or something, you know? Like, it didn't have to be that situation.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think also, too, they kind of left the house a little quicker than I thought they would. I do admire them for leaving the house, because they could have just really easily kept the movie inside. But I do think moving outside of it got a little bit weaker in the last, like, the beginning of the third act, was just like, what the fuck is going on? And then they finally get back in the house and it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it besides the ending, but I know we're going to talk about that. So what about you? Anything that stood out?
Well, I think, I think it loses some of its steam once they lose the house, because it's like you have to have like this kind of continuous momentum throughout a movie like this that they just aren't able to succeed in. But I think that was like probably them writing themselves kind of into a corner because they wanted to make her somewhat competent.
Yeah.
And so I think they got her to a point where it's like, oh, well, she has to break out of the house.
It kicks ass when she gets out of the house, to be clear, but then it's like,
but then she's
where are we?
immediately found by the butler and brought back in.
Yeah.
And then also like that car scene, I think that was just like the writers kind of reveling in like this joke, and they thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad they thought that was very funny, but then you have to like realize like pacing.
You know, sometimes you can say something funny and think it's funny in your group chat, guys, and then you don't have to put it in your movie.
Yeah.
How about that?
If you want to do that, do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just like kind of like that. It's kind of just like it kind of has a very strong first act, but then kind of draws itself out a little bit in that middle.
Yeah, you're like, all the maids are dead. What can happen? And the ending, I think, really pops off. Haha, that's a really... I did not mean to say that, but it does really picks right back up at the end.
Because the middle part is just people trading sides. It's like the older brother like has a conflict of interest 5 times in this movie.
Yeah.
Alex
he keeps
is
faking out. You think he's going to help her, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it's because someone else was watching him, so does he really want to or not? It's like, okay. Get it. Yeah. What? All right, let's talk about the ending, because that is the other part of the movie that I don't know if I like or not.
Oh.
Do you... I remember watching it and just being, like, blown away that they did it. That they done blew them up. I was shook. I was really surprised they did that. Do you like the ending?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the person who always likes the monster to be real in the end.
Yeah.
It's like you can have your cake and eat it too. You can make your monster a metaphor for something, but also have it be a monster.
Well, they do that because they have that moment where it's like, oh, fuck, what would the payoff be if they all realized that it wasn't real? And you do have a long part of that moment. So I was just thinking that they kind of did that. They kind of played both endings.
Because if it wasn't real, then it's just like, oh, we fucked up. But then again, it's like, how do you wrap that up? You either pay her off or it'd just be kind of clumsy.
I think she would have to keep trying to escape and then burn the house down.
Yeah, and at that point, you don't want more movies.
That's not fun. Yeah. This movie,
It's always more fun when there's some supernatural element. I think so. It's fun.
I would agree.
Actual Satan is there, and actual Satan tricked them into doing a fun...
you talked me back into it.
Back on board.
Back on board. You talked me back into it. Yeah, I still don't know how I feel about it. The way that they wrote it, that was the only ending that could have happened, I think, to like pay off, but I don't know. It is what it is. I'll say that. The
family, I mean, in a horror rule sense, kind of deserved what they got.
Yeah. I have a big ass quote for you.
Okay.
From a negative review.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is a long quote. Okay. But I think it is all important. And it talks about the theme of wealth and rich people.
Oh.
All right. So
That's in this movie?
This is from Entertainment Weekly. So, at its heart, this film cries out to be the most dangerous game by the way of Schitt's Creek, but it doesn't appear to know what it takes to be a satire. It knows the sight of rich people with medieval weaponry hunting a woman means something, in air quotes, but they haven't worked out the details. The ammunition's just for show, says a butler to Weaving as she points a gun at him midway through the carnage. The same is true of the film's political machinery. Ready or Not quite plainly didn't ask to be the other movie about human beings hunting each other for sport, but as Wesley Morris once... Who is Wesley Morris? This reviewer needs to chill out a little bit. But as Wesley Morris once wrote, a moment picks a movie more than the reverse. It's quite plainly in Weaving's corner, but it doesn't have much to offer her. Even the final line has a kind of cheap seats anti-poetry that has nothing to do with the conflict and is more about scoring a laugh as the audience heads to the parking lot. That... I could take or leave a little bit of that, but this I agree with. By the time the games come to an end, Ready or Not has ceased to be about the rich and the poor. It's about a girl trying to survive a violent ordeal, which is potent enough for the moment you're watching the film. But in a climate in which politics can pull a film from a release schedule, now is not the time to hide.
Well, they're probably very proud of that last line.
No kidding. They're like, hey, yes!
Or not.
Or not. This movie, this review is a little self-congratulatory to me. A little bit, I'm like, back off on the tone.
Much like the movie.
Exactly. So I think, I definitely think this movie doesn't commit to being political.
Yeah.
And I think I think it kind of suffers for that.
Okay. I think it does.
Yeah.
I do think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. And I think it's to what the reviewer's point was saying, where it's not as pointed as it should be. It needs to be sharpened up a little bit.
I guess we got to get the knives out.
Mm-hmm.
Eric looked so mad for a second.
It was so good, but
But that's how I feel about Knives Out too. At least this movie...
I felt like when you said that line, I looked over and a fire exploded and Ryan Johnson's silhouette was sitting in the chair.
I think better than all of Knives Out. Just kidding. This movie, I think, now we gotta watch The Hunt, but I think that it kind of tries to wink and nod a little bit too much at like, oh, isn't it funny that the wife who sold her soul, who we're expected to be like, think she's like a bitch because she's against Grace, the older brother's wife, and she's like, you know where I came from, you know that I would die before I gave all this up, like, we get it, you know, and you will, the movie says, by the end of the movie, you will die for everything. So it's like, it just feels like it wanted the recognition for being political a little bit without committing to saying anything about it.
I think it used almost the rich and the poor backdrop just to kind of set it up. I feel like it's never trying to say much. It's just trying to be like kind of a fun romp. But it adds elements to it that would be, especially in these times that need to be taken more seriously, that it just is not interested in.
Yeah. I think that it could just be a fun romp, but through the circumstances of when it came out, like, coupled with how they... Because The Hunt was supposed to come out when this movie started filming. Mm-hmm. So they were already experiencing that climate. So I still feel like they kind of were like, okay, let's ride this wave a little bit and talk about class. But it doesn't say anything meaningful about class. It had an opportunity to say something and it didn't, and that's fine. Not every movie needs to, but I don't want to give it the credit for being more clever than it was. And it wants me to do that, I feel like, as a viewer.
Yeah.
And I have beef with that last line. I think it was really dumb.
Yeah.
The in-laws quip. I know she's funny, but, like, give us something else, you know?
It's not, yeah.
It's fine. I just remember seeing it in theaters and I was like, okay, Jesus, like, okay.
It is snuggling into where it should be, and as far as, like, the pantheon of horror movies go, where it's just, like, a good movie that people are like, that's pretty good, you should watch it. People watch it, like, oh, that's pretty good. And then you kind of move on with your life.
Yeah.
It's not a movie that, it's not setting out to be a political commentary.
Oh my god, we started out so positive and I enjoyed watching this movie so much, and now I feel like we're just dunking on it.
I think it's a good movie. It's just
a moderate dunk. Yeah, not every movie can be a
It's a fun premise. It does what it sets out to do. It sets up it establishes all the characters pretty well and gives them all pretty unique personalities. Better than Knives Out.
Absolutely, yeah. The family is it's very funny also. The family's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're really funny. The sister is like either doing coke or popping pills or doing whatever.
I think where the movie falls apart is just like when she like leaves the family, or like leaves the house, so she's not directly involved with the family, because then you don't have that bounce off stuff, and that's when the energy dies. I think that's when you start thinking about the movie, and then that's when the movie starts letting you think about it.
Yep.
And then that's when you're like, oh, political commentary, poor and rich, and then the movie's like, but no, we still don't blow people up because of Satan.
You know what I feel like it could have done is if there was like a long driveway or something, and she was just running out on the driveway and the car was running her down. Mm-hmm. And then she's able to like get in the car, but then she crashes it or something, and then Alex finds her. Done.
Big driveway.
Did it. Big driveway, guys.
Big garage. They're rich people. They probably have plenty of cars.
Yeah, where's the garage? Yeah, we didn't even need to leave the estate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What would you give this movie on scares, Eric?
Like a 1. It's not scary.
There's some jump scares.
Are there?
Yeah, the butler shows up, but they're like, duh! There's a person there. The aunt.
Yeah.
The aunt when they're trying to have sex in the room and the aunt is there.
Yeah, no, it's not scary. It's just gory.
What would you give it on gore? I know we don't have 2 rating system, but we got to collaborate in here. This is not for squeamish people.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 3.
I would agree. Yeah, it does cut away so that it doesn't feel like you're watching snuff, but it does gurgle more than it needed to, and we do see like flaps of skin and eye sockets and bashed in heads and stuff.
Yeah, when they were killing the maids, I noticed they wouldn't, like when the one maid gets shot in the mouth and you hear her gurgling, they never show her because that would be too dramatic.
Yeah.
Like they always knew how much of the kills to show and how much of like to like allow it to still be funny.
But it's
you keep on thinking
it's like
gonna
enough, you know.
You think it keeps on like giving you the chance to like it's gonna do it. Because then like the dad walks in, finds her, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna see it. But no, let's never see it.
Yeah.
I would recommend this movie. I think it's like a fun Saturday matinee kind of thing. Like,
Agreed.
If you find yourself having $4, or if it's streaming somewhere, watch it.
Yeah, it's good vengeance. I love some vengeance. I do.
Yes.
She really hauls ass. She's great.
It does a good balance of allowing her to be competent and like on her feet, but never like making her too powerful.
Yeah, she seems just like a competent, pissed off, very scared person.
Yes.
She seems incredibly normal the whole time, and that sounds like a dunk, but it's not. It's like a really good thing.
Because there's a movie that's kind of similar to this called You're Next, which is like where the final girl turns out to be like a survivalist person.
Oh, I was like, don't tell me, we gotta watch it.
No, it's just like established early on. She's like, oh, she's like, I forget, like she was like a super Girl Scout or something. Or like she was like, trained. And so like throughout the whole movie, it's like, okay, well, yeah, because she's like,
yeah, I'm a fucking Girl Scout.
Yeah, I know how to fucking sell cookies and kick ass. And I'm all out of cookies. You're about to say the same thing. God damn it. Excited to see where everyone ends up. Actors, directors, writers, everyone.
This movie really benefited from not having any like big names in it.
Yes.
Like they're good in it. They're all really good. The acting was a lot better than I remember.
Yeah.
It was great. We've seen enough bad horror acting.
Yeah.
For it to be like, oh shit, this is actually good acting.
And like good acting that isn't centered around loving God so much. It's loving Satan.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about.
I give this movie 8 out of 8 Hail Satans.
Oh, I was going to say 2 out of 3 dead maids.
Oh. 1 Samara Weaving howl.
Ooh, it's very powerful.
Absolutely.
I'd give this a Yahtzee out of a Monopoly. And that's the end of our episode. Please subscribe and drop us a review if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram at HorrorscopePod with 1D or at Twitter at HorrorscopePod with 2Ds. Your horoscope for the day is: if you speak of the devil, don't be afraid when he comes to collect. Honestly, the game Hide and Go Seek is a nothing game. Me and Jaime kind of agreed it's kind of one of the worst games.
We're both children with anxiety, so hide and seek is not good for that.
Well, I just didn't like it because there was no good rules.
Oh, okay, so we had different reasons.
Yes. It wasn't the anxious part. It's just like, what's the point? Okay, you found me, and then it's over. That's boring.
I was the
What's
kid
the
who,
strat?
when they were about to find me, I'd say I wasn't playing anymore.
Oh, man, we would have not got along on the playground. Ground.